I think it's very high quality. A part of the jury included also student films, and I was really impressed with the overall quality of particularly of the student films. And also variation of themes was really interesting. Overall technique to approach, great variety in the approach. What was very interesting for me also was that on the jury we got a chance to view the films at home, and for me it's in the US. I'm living in Vermont now. But so I got to watch everything at home, streaming, and I formed an idea before I came about what I thought was the best and blah, 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 blah. And then after that period of time when you have a chance to let it sit there, and what remains, you know, what are the images that really stick with you? And I found that my opinion in two cases completely reversed. A film I almost disregarded at home, by the time I got here, I thought, no, you know, that film really, and it went from the bottom to the top in my, you know, judgment. So that was very interesting. But it's my first time to Romania. And although I worked with the people with Astra for many years, actually. I ran a distribution company in Boston for over 20 years. And often we would send films and filmmakers to Astra. And even my boss, who ran the company, came one year and had a wonderful time at Astra. So when they asked me, I said, oh, yes, I will go now. So it's been great.
The drop of the beat. The drop of the beat.
It's a very interesting company. It was founded in 1968 by a filmmaker, John Marshall, who was here, and actually when he was here in Romania with his final film, it was called A Kalahari Family. It was his magnum opus, his final film before he died. So when he was here in Sibiu, it was just a couple of years before he died. So this was like a big chance for him, kind of like a final summing up of his career. And meanwhile, I was back in the US, in Boston. The company was founded in Boston. It was founded on a wonderful archive. So it's a very interesting situation for a distributor, because that was our work, was in distribution, because we also had a very important historical archive of ethnographic and anthropological film, which is kind of part of the roots of Astra also being in. And so it was a very natural collaboration between this festival and our company going way back. So we worked in many levels, both almost like a small museum. We had relationships with a lot of museums where we did a lot of restoration and continuing to make historically important films available. So for us, also technology and technological change was a core challenge, and one that we felt was very important as a distribution company to make sure that all of our films, no matter how the technology was changing from film, from 16 millimeter, then we migrated everything to tape, and then when digital, then we took all of that archive and made it available digitally and now streaming. So we never allowed any of the titles to become obsolete or unavailable. So I think that was and still is, a great service that we do, besides always taking on new films. So we're always looking for the newest and the most interesting films to distribute. Meanwhile, we keep bringing the historical material forward. Festivals have become ubiquitous. They're everywhere. Every town, every little village, has many, film festivals have become, I think, a substitute for going to the theater. You know how cinema, because of digital and changing and Netflix and all of the streaming, people don't go to the cinema, but they go to a festival. And in a festival, they can go to a theater and watch a film that they can't find anywhere else. So I think there's this, and also I think politicians, businesses see having a festival in your town is a big advantage, because you can use it for advertising, for promotion for your town. It brings in tourists. So festivals have become very interesting, complicated affairs that serve not only films and filmmakers, but the audiences, and then the business and the political all kind of converge, and they have mutual interest. In the US, nobody trusts the press anymore. The press has been taken over by corporate interests, by individuals. It's become politically not relevant, not factual. News has become opinion. So people see documentary as the new journalism. And I think people are relying more on documentary for truth, or to see a kind of reality that they can't experience any other way. And you combine that with a kind of global view, easier travel, smaller. I can make a documentary from my phone. I can make a whole documentary on my cell phone. So you can go to a war zone, and you can be in the middle of the front lines, or like in Ukraine, you can be right in the middle of it and be making a film about it. And so I think with the advance of the technology, combined with this other pressure from people to know truth, and it's just coming together at a very important time for documentary film, for sure. My experience with film, certainly in Eastern Europe, because I've been to the Czech Republic and I've done some workshops with younger filmmakers. The overwhelming obsession with their communist past is a theme that an American would have a young American filmmaker, no idea. But it seems to be a recurring kind of obsessive kind of compulsion to redigest and reinterpret history. And another, village life, the whole city mouse, country mouse kind of thing. Village life, the disappearing of village life, and either the yearning to go back to village life, and that seems to be a very powerful, recurring sort of theme. And then, of course, relationships are always a theme. Coming of age is a theme, and but those are universal. I I think a key problem that has to be addressed, which is kind of like what has always been the problem with visual recording, even if you go back to the first press with print on paper of documenting your time, or even early photography, is going to be preservation. How, people think, oh, it's digital, it's forever. No, digital is not forever. Digital, you lose your bits and your bytes, and before you know it, it's gone. Or you hit the wrong button and you lose the drive and you drop your phone in the bathtub and it's gone and there's all your phone. I mean, preservation, archive, museums who figure out technology, how to save it. Do we take it all and put it back on film? From 150, 200 years ago, do we go back to that technology now because we think we're going forward, but we're not? We're really losing our history, so we have to go and put it back into an earlier form? Because we have film that was 100 and 125 and 100, but digital, I don't think so. So it's a big problem, I don't know. So I think it's going to be the preservation issue. And I think it's really important too, because I think what's so great about the picture you painted with everybody is you get a very three-dimensional view of what usually we see the world just from our unique perspective, and here we have an opportunity. It's like a cubist painting, where in one picture you get the three-dimensional view of this object or time or place. And that's what everybody having the ability to record from their perspective, if you could collectively put that together, think of the three-dimensional view you would have. You would get as close to reality as you could possibly imagine, which I think is fabulous.